I feel like I had to make a separate video for this and not just talk about it during gameplay. Because I just have a lot to say about this scene and I don't want to get interrupted by anything else in the game. Or potentially miss anything important. So here goes. A little reminder before I start to break down the scene. When we engage with fictional characters, it is crucial to avoid viewing them as two-dimensional beings. Much like real people, characters are rarely black and white. The developers aim to convey believable, nuanced characters, and they have achieved this with great success. They have crafted these fictional personas to feel remarkably human, rich with complexity and depth. The characters possess distinct personalities, individual moral codes, and unique methods of communication. This diversity leads to a range of interactions, including misunderstandings. Just as it does in real life. Such misunderstandings are particularly prevalent between Cloud and Tifa, but this is because they are quite similar. Both of them don't really voice their feelings, they don't understand each other, because they don't know each other. They only have an image of the other person that they think is accurate. In the context of Cloud and Tifa, the psychological term projection explains how they form images of each other based on their own assumptions, past experiences, and internal states. This results in misunderstandings and misinterpretations, but because they are not seeing each other as they truly are, but rather through the lens of their own projections. But this will probably get better as the story progresses. I'll just have to wait to see. So let's begin. You can really see how guilty and sad Cloud looks here. His whole body language is just so slouched. Also, I just have to say that I know for a fact that Barrett does not know what happened at the reactor, because Cloud is alone in here with Tifa. If he would have known, there's not a chance he would feel safe with the two of them being alone together. I'm afraid to say that Cloud would probably be in the live stream if Barrett knew. Hehe. Also, I must say that I really loved the Gongaga reactor scene. I would have loved it even more if it wasn't Cloud who made Tifa fall into the Mako. But with this scene that I'm about to talk about, it makes more sense that it was Cloud. Otherwise, we wouldn't get the scene where Cloud opens up about himself. And the livestream moment for Tifa was really amazing. It felt like she was finally getting her time to shine, her moment. Anyway, back to the video.
I'll go get the others.
As he says this, he must feel so uncomfortable and an immense feeling of guilt, thinking that she probably don't want to see him or be alone with him after the incident. Which would have been a completely valid response from Tifa. I know I'd be upset if the guy I had a crush on doesn't trust me a second time because someone was manipulating him into thinking I was a fake, and then trying to prove yet again that I'm real and still not being believed. Would make me feel extremely unimportant. That I wasn't able to get through to him. She's most likely hurt by it, but doesn't want Cloud to pull away further, which is a great move on her part. Tifa has always been very kind-hearted, putting others before herself, but sometimes it's just not the way to go.
Cloud? You remember how our parents used to tell us that when a person died, their spirit would cross Mount Nebo?
Yeah. We all knew it was a story to scare us out of climbing the mountain.
I think this is so interesting to see how Cloud just switches when she calls out to him and starts speaking about Mount Nebo, because this makes him more confident and almost like he switches personality. Just at how fast he changed his tone. He felt that this was an invitation for him to stay. So of course he's going to want to stay and see that she's doing good and that they are on good terms. Just don't tell Barrett what happened or Cloud's really not gonna make it through the day. I think Cloud felt kind of relieved that she called out to him and started to talk about Mount Nebel. Just because for him, it sort of feels like an invitation to continue to stay here in the room with her. Because the immense guilt this guy must feel, I cannot even comprehend.
You believed it, though.
I didn't. At least, I had my suspicions. But I buried them. I wanted it to be true so badly. I didn't want to think my mom was just gone. Plus, Emilio and the others said they'd help me find her, so up the mountain we went.
Some help they were. Running off and leaving you out there?
This is where Tifa opens up about the incident. She rarely talks about herself. Sure, she mentions Nibelheim memories a lot when with Cloud, but refrains from talking about herself or her feelings surrounding past events. This makes me realize something as well. When they talk with each other, it's almost always about the past, like they are stuck there, or rather, Tifa is stuck there. And that's understandable from her POV, especially after reading Traces of Tifa, where after the Nibelheim incident, she never really got an opportunity to really grieve her loss. All she does is trying to survive in Midgar, with the debt from her surgery weighing her down, being alone at such a young age, surrounded by dangerous people, was not easy on her. So she never really got to grieve properly. It's going to be interesting to see how the trip back to Nibelheim unravels. Also, when Cloud said, "You believed it though," about the Mount Nebel legend, Tifa denies it. She explains she wanted it to be real. This is yet an indication that they don't really know each other well, and never have. Can only get better from here, right?
Not that I knew about any of that.
You don't remember?
I hit my head pretty hard when I fell off that cliff. Think it messed with my memory. Everything from around that time's a blur. I only knew what the others told me. Didn't even occur to me to question them.
What'd they tell you?
They said that you egged me on.
Cloud is kind of surprised she doesn't remember the Mount Nebel incident when they talk about it. Tifa told him that she only knew what the others told her and it didn't occur to her to question them. Cloud is surprised by this. "What did they tell you?" he asks. And Tifa answers him with, "That you egged me on." And then he scoffs at it. Considering that Cloud and Tifa weren't really childhood friends in the sense that they played together or knew each other, this is valid from Tifa's POV. They were kids. Tifa accepted the truth that she was told, but she never had any ill feelings towards Cloud after the incident at Mount Nebel. Having read the Traces of Two Past, it is clear that Tifa never had any resentments towards Cloud. She was rather neutral towards him. But it also told us how little she knew about Cloud. She basically only knew his name, his mother's name, where he lived, how he looked. She knew nothing about his likes, dislikes, how he was as a person, so she didn't really interject when the others called him weird or a menace to society.
But now I know that's not what happened at all. When the rest of them ran, you were there for me. You stayed when I needed you most. If that's not a hero, then I don't know what is.
Now this is when Tifa is trying to reassure Cloud that she now knows that he was there for her when she needed him the most, and mentions that he is indeed a hero to her, which makes it sound like the promise had already been redeemed beforehand at Mount Nebel. This is Tifa's kind-hearted nature. She wants to make him feel better and basically say that she forgives him with this speech.
I'm no hero. What kind of hero falls off a cliff with the person he's trying to save and pushes him into a pool of Mako?
Cloud can't seem to take the encouragement and says, "I'm no hero." his body language does tell us that he still feels guilty, with the slouched shoulders, looking down and not trying to make any eye contact with Tifa. He only sees it as failure because he wasn't able to save her from falling at Mount Nebel and then pushed her into a pool of Mako. But now the most important part of the scene plays out. This is when Cloud opens up to Tifa and tells her about what he's conflicted with. This is actually one of the very few moments, if not the only moment, where he actually opens up to Tifa and talks about his own feelings and his inner dilemma.
Sometimes, I don't even know who I am. I forget things everyone else remembers just fine, and know things I've got no right knowing. It's like there's different people inside of me. And the worst part is, I can't even tell where they end and I begin.
Go on.
Soldier cells degrade. I think that's what's happening to me. That I'm falling apart.
Okay, you guys, I'm gonna have a lot to say about this, so buckle up. Go get yourself something to drink, go get yourself popcorn, any snack. He moves away from Tifa and says, I forget things everyone else remembers and know things I've got no right knowing. This quote highlights Cloud's struggle with memory fragmentation and false memories. Due to experiments conducted on him by Hojo, his memory processes were severely disrupted. This led to the memory fragmentation, making it difficult for him to distinguish between his own memories and those implanted by external factors. Cloud's mind was manipulated to incorporate Zack Fair's memories and experiences. As a result, he possesses knowledge and recollections that do not belong to him, leading to confusion and a disordered sense of reality. The traumatic experiences Cloud endured, like the destruction of Nibelheim and the deaths of loved ones, could also cause selective amnesia, where his mind blocks out certain painful memories while retaining others. When Cloud says, it's like there's different people inside of me, here Cloud is expressing his sense of dissociative identity. The trauma he endured, combined with the manipulation of his memories, leads him to feel as though he is not a single, cohesive person. The personas of Zack Fair and Sephiroth significantly influence Cloud's identity. He struggles to reconcile these external influences with his own sense of self, feeling as though different people coexist within him. Additionally, the Genova cells within Cloud create a mental link with Sephiroth, further complicating his sense of identity. This, however, does not mean he inherits their direct memories and feelings. Cloud is not Zack nor Sephiroth. It is more complicated than that. First off, when people say Cloud is Zack, they're overlooking the unique and individual aspects of Cloud Strive's character. Cloud and Zack Fair are two distinctive individuals with their own histories, personalities, and experiences. Reducing Cloud to just being Zack oversimplifies and diminishes the depth of Cloud's character. The merging of Zack's memories into Cloud's mind was a result of the traumatic experiments conducted by Hojo. Cloud's exposure to Mako and Genova cells caused a blending of his own memories with Zack's. This led Cloud to believe, for a time, that he was living Zack's life. However, this isn't a true representation of Cloud's identity. It's more of a coping mechanism and a symptom of his psychological trauma. By saying Cloud is Zack, we also disregard the journey Cloud goes through to reclaim his own identity. Throughout Final Fantasy VII, Cloud struggles to piece together his true self from the fragments of his disordered memories. His journey is one of self-discovery and acceptance, which is central to his character arc. When we equate him with Zack, we undermine this significant personal growth and the complexity of his narrative. Moreover, reducing Cloud to Zack's identity overlooks the unique relationship Cloud builds on his own terms. Cloud's bonds with characters like Tifa and Aerith are distinct from Zack's relationships. These connections are based on Cloud's own actions, decisions, and emotions, which further define him as his own person. Besides, Cloud and Zack, their personalities are way different to be one and the same. When Cloud says, "And the worst part is, I can't even tell where they end and I begin," this quote underscores Cloud's difficulty in distinguishing his true self from the implanted memories and external influences. The boundaries between his own thoughts and those of Zack and Sephiroth are blurred, leading to a profound identity crisis. This internal conflict is a source of great distress for Cloud. The inability to separate his own identity from others' memories and personas causes ongoing confusion and anxiety, impacting his mental stability. We must remember that we don't get to see the real Cloud often. He comes out very randomly, but often when something triggers his emotions. For example, the scene with Barrett where he's supportive and tells Barrett that "we're here for you," and that he really means it. Or when talking with Aerith. Aerith is quite good at breaking out the real Cloud. There are plenty of scenes where his soldier persona is nowhere to be found. But with Tifa, he has the soldier persona almost all the time. Maybe because that's what he thinks she wants. So subconsciously, he just doesn't let out his real self. Until now. I believe the reason why Cloud has the soldier front more so with Tifa is also because that's what he remembers about their promise back at the water tower, and the fact that he wants to be cool around Tifa. And the real Cloud isn't really like that. He's kind, goofy, shy, and reserved. Cloud has many instances where he shows genuine care and support for his friends. Cloud's emotional depth comes out in key moments, revealing a compassionate and caring personality. His concern for his friends' well-being and his willingness to go to great lengths for their sake all highlight his supportive nature. And now he's even showing vulnerability towards the person whom he doesn't want to show weakness towards. Or rather, what he feels is a weakness, talking about his vulnerability, his lack of control over his own identity. Cloud is more afraid now than ever. It's just heartbreaking just seeing Cloud looking this visibly upset at this point. He's afraid of losing himself and being completely taken over by another identity that is not his own. And he himself doesn't even know who he is. That must be so difficult.
That's not going to happen to you. You saved me before. Now it's my turn.
Oh boy, do I have a lot to say about this scene. Yeah, shall we begin? First, I want to break down the dialogue from Tifa. When she sees that Cloud is visibly upset, she says to him, "That's not going to happen to you. You saved me before, now it's my turn." This is Tifa telling Cloud that it's now her turn to make a promise, that she will save him from falling apart, because he had saved her at Mount Nebel. Even though they both fell, Tifa, the kind-hearted woman that she is, doesn't care about that. Just that he made an effort to save her was enough for her. The promise had already been fulfilled, is what Tifa means with this dialogue. Which means that Cloud doesn't have to feel weighed down by the promise he agreed to when they were kids. He is not a failure, and in Tifa's eyes, he is a hero, even though he himself doesn't think so. Yeah, the entire scene was perfect, until this moment when Tifa leaned in for a kiss. Should have stayed at the hand-holding. This felt very out of character for Tifa. Cloud looks confused, as he should be. He has never been physically intimate with anyone, and is still mentally the 16-year-old kid that got his hometown burned down by a pyromaniac with silky silver hair. course he doesn't know how to act in this kind of situation, and less how to kiss. This was a very awkward scene. Wish it would just have ended with Tifa touching his hand empathically, since that also seems to be something that Cloud notices, hands. That is his love language, that he didn't know before. Just watch him noticing the hand movement of when Tifa raises her hand to her chest, and then when she touches his hands with his. Aerith has also done this a couple of times. I think she even was the first one to ever grab his hand like that, if my memory doesn't fail me. And don't forget about the Madame M scene. There's no way he doesn't have a thing for hands after that. It's kind of nice actually if you think about it. Just someone placing a comforting hand on your shoulder will make you feel seen and comforted when someone touches us gently. However, it's important to note that not everyone finds touch comforting, so don't take this like a dare and go out about touching people. Personal history, relationship, religion, and cultural background can influence how we perceive touch. But for many people, the gentle pressure and warmth of another hand can be a powerful source of comfort and reassurance. Hands can be very expressive as well. A gentle squeeze, intertwined fingers, or a lingering touch can convey a deep range of emotions. It shows a willingness to be emotionally open and vulnerable. Anyway, back to the scene. You can clearly see that Tifa's eyelashes flutters, as if going in for a kiss. And Cloud just looks confused, seeing as how his eyebrows and eyes are moving constantly. This was clearly fan service, and a bad one at that. It completely destroyed the scene. And if it wasn't fan service, that makes Tifa look very out of character, or even desperate. Although it would make a little sense if she was desperate to hold on to him, especially after the livestream scene where Cloud walked away with Sephiroth, and she panicked screaming, "No, don't take him too." Because Sephiroth already took her dad away from her and her entire hometown. Cloud is the last fragment of the past she holds so dear. And that is probably why Tifa also mentions Emilio before, because he's part of her past that she doesn't want to bury. Tifa is constantly living in the past and doesn't really think about the future as much as she thinks about the past. Maybe it is because Cloud's around? I mean, in Traces of Tifa, she never thought about Cloud when she was back in Midgar. She was just trying to get by. She didn't have time to grieve or anything. But I just feel like this scene makes Tifa look so bad. Because it makes her look like she's taking advantage of the opportunity. He's finally opening up to her about himself, and then she's about to give him a kiss. Nah, I'ma tell you exactly why this is hella problematic. Taking advantage of vulnerability. Cloud is in a deeply emotional state, confessing his confusion and fear of losing himself. A kiss, especially an unwanted one, could be seen as Tifa prioritizing her feelings over his emotional well-being in that moment. By leaning in, Tifa might be putting unspoken pressure on Cloud to respond in a romantic way. This could be overwhelming for him, especially considering his mental state. And also, it's the disrespecting of boundaries. Cloud might not be ready for a kiss. Leaning in assumes he wants it, which can be disrespectful of his emotional space. And also could be seen as exploiting his trust. Sharing vulnerabilities is a sign of trust. That is exactly what he did. He was talking about his inner self, about his identity crisis. A kiss in this moment could be seen as Tifa taking advantage of that trust for her own desires. And it could also be seen as Tifa putting pressure on Cloud to reciprocate, making him feel uncomfortable or obliged. But in this case, I rather think he's just confused, like he said to Aerith, "I'm no romantic." Cloud is in a vulnerable state. He has a complex mental health condition where he experiences disruptions or breaks in his sense of self, memory, consciousness, emotions, perception, and behavior. In this state, Cloud is emotionally fragile and likely seeking support, not romance. A kiss, even if well intended, could be interpreted as Tifa taking advantage of his emotional state to fulfill her desires. Leaning in for a kiss could be confusing for him. Is it a gesture of comfort or a romantic advance? His fragmented sense of self might make it hard for him to express his true feelings or set boundaries. Tifa's action could inadvertently trigger further emotional distress for him. And also, if we would reverse the roles, imagine this being two people. One of them clearly has a crush, and that is the man who has a crush on the female. And imagine this happening. Doesn't have to be these two characters, just random people. If the roles were reversed, with a male character leaning in to kiss a vulnerable female character who just confided in him, it would raise similar concerns. I just feel like this is so out of character. Tifa is known for her kindness, nurturing nature, and loyalty. She prioritizes Cloud's well-being and would likely offer emotional support. Now, if this was an optional scene and it had to do with affinity points, okay, fine. But it's most likely not. We have to remember that Tifa is a very kind-hearted and dependable person. Leaning in for a kiss feels manipulative and takes advantage of Cloud's vulnerability, diminishing her emotional intelligence, which she has loads of. Her action could be seen as prioritizing her desires over Cloud's emotional well-being. This clashes with her established loyalty and care for him. And it even reduces her to just a simple love interest. Final Fantasy VII focuses on Cloud's and Tifa's growth as individuals, and that is the same for the other characters as well. A forced romantic moment like this, like a kissing scene, undermines their complex relationship and reduces Tifa to a stereotypical love interest. Cloud and Tifa have a deep bond, but it's more about friendship and mutual respect than overt romanticism. And that would be very out of character for Cloud if he was overly romantic, especially now when he's not even himself. He's now trying to confide in Tifa, and she using this moment to like kiss him? No, that is not my Tifa. Tifa is aware of Cloud's emotional struggles. She's always been, and would likely prioritize his vulnerability in that moment and not going for a kiss. Cloud's struggle with identity is a major plot point as well, so a kiss would undermine the seriousness of his confession and the emotional weight of the scene. It just fell flat from being on the mountaintops of Mount Nebel, and then it just fell flat. It was a really good scene, especially after the Gongaga reactor incident. This was the scene we needed, to just have them talk with each other, to not have like Tifa be afraid of him. Honestly, this felt so forced and just out of touch, and this did not feel like something Tifa would do. Well, after the incident, I'm thinking, if she was desperate to hold on to Cloud, okay, then it's fine. But from Cloud's side, I mean, he's probably just confused. He's probably not even thinking about, whoa, woman, my boundaries, or anything like that. He's more likely confused as to why she's leaning in. What is it that she wants from him? So this scene would have been perfect if it only ended with Tifa holding his hands and then Yuffie being like, kiss, kiss, because that is in character for Yuffie. Tifa is a thoughtful person and doesn't react impulsively. Tifa often takes a moment to think before responding, showing her capacity for self-control. Her calm demeanor helps in diffusing tension within the group. Like, this part just did not show that side of her. It really should have just ended with the hand-holding. But you know what? I think the devs knew what they were doing. They've done so well with all the scenes up until this point. I just feel like I would have done it differently if they wanted to convey a better image, just a better feeling after this particular scene. Some people will probably romanticize this scene anyway, and that's mostly going to be because being a fan of the possible couple, not seeing them as individual characters. There could be several reasons to this, like the idea of a childhood crush. The notion that a childhood crush transcends everything taps into nostalgia and the idealization of first loves. This can create a romanticized view that overshadows the reality of their individual growth and experiences. It's essential to see Cloud and Tifa as separate individuals with their own identities and struggles. But it could also be trauma bonding. Cloud and Tifa both experienced the traumatic destruction of their hometown, Nibelheim. This created a deep emotional scar, which they carry throughout their lives. And their mutual understanding of this trauma creates a unique bond, as they are among the few who can truly comprehend each other's pain. The trauma bonding seems more prevalent in Tifa though. Tifa's naturally empathic and compassionate nature makes her more susceptible to trauma bonding. She feels deeply for Cloud and is strongly affected by his pain and struggles. The numerous traumatic events they endure together, from fighting Shinra to facing Sephiroth, continually reinforce their bond. These shared experiences create a mutual dependency, particularly for Tifa, who relies on their connection to cope with her own trauma. Constantly focusing on Cloud's issues can lead to emotional dependency as well, where Tifa's sense of self-worth and identity is tied to Cloud's well-being. By focusing on her own growth, Tifa can develop a stronger sense of independency and self-worth. Tifa's role should not be limited to being Cloud's savior, and that shouldn't be anyone's role. Friends support friends, but don't disregard your own journey. That is also very important. While her support for Cloud is important, she must also recognize that she cannot solve all of his problems. When Tifa focuses all her energy on Cloud, she risks neglecting her own identity. Her sense of self could become entirely wrapped up in Cloud's needs and well-being, leading to a loss of her own individuality. Constantly prioritizing Cloud's issues over her own can lead to emotional exhaustion as well. Tifa has her own emotional needs and traumas that require attention and healing. Ignoring these can cause burnout and a diminished sense of self-worth. An unbalanced relationship where one person constantly takes on the role of the caretaker or savior can lead to several issues. In Tifa and Cloud's case, Tifa often finds herself in the position of supporting and saving Cloud, especially during his identity crisis. While this shows her strength and compassion, it also risks creating an unhealthy dynamic. An unbalanced dynamic can cause Tifa to lose sight of her individuality. Her identity might become overly tied to her role as Cloud's supporter, overshadowing her own dreams, goals, and personal growth. And also, fans can project their own feelings and experiences onto characters, and their projection influences how they perceive the relationship between the two characters. For instance, if someone identifies with Cloud's struggles, they might favor his relationship with Tifa because it feels more relatable or desirable, or because she's hot and got quadruple Ds. If that's the case, you're not a fan of Tifa's, let me revoke your club membership. Understanding that our personal biases shape our perception can help us appreciate the characters' stories.
Aw, worried about little old me?
Aye, that's right. Worried.
Come on! Sorry!
Oh my god, she is so pretty here, especially when she just like turned around and was like, I'm going. But wow, she is so beautiful. And also, what did Aerith's mouth? I can't lip read her at all. I can't see for the life of me what she's saying. The models have probably not been synced with the English mouth movements, or however you say it. Do you guys know? If anyone knows, please comment below, or comment below what you think. I don't know if like the character models are mouthing stuff in Japanese. That would make sense, because then of course I'm not gonna know what they mean or what they're trying to convey. Okay, I felt like I have to do this video just because I need to clarify that I really love Tifa's character, and I always have. She's been my #1 favorite for a long time, since the OG. She was my favorite, and in Advent Children she was also my favorite. So this is not a video to slander her character whatsoever. But one thing that we must realize is that just because you love a character doesn't mean you can't be critical of that character. She's in no way a bad character. This is just how real people are. Like they're imperfect. Like there is no one who is good all the way through and can do nothing wrong. There is no one like that. But Tifa is close. just kidding. But really, I really love her character, and even if she has like these little bad sides to her, call it whatever you want, it does nothing for me to love her less. She's a great character, and she's always been kind-hearted. Zangan said that, so you guys, we need to listen to him. But the thing with Tifa is that she has a lot of trauma to resolve. Like, she hasn't gone through her trauma at all. She hasn't really spoken about it with someone. All we can see is that Aerith and Tifa have been speaking to each other, but then again, we also have to think about this timeline. Like, from the moment Cloud and Tifa met, it's what's it been like? 2 weeks, 3 weeks? Don't know. And then previous to that, it's been 7 years. So it's not so strange that they don't really know each other. But the thing is also that when she saw Cloud, her trauma came up. So that is what's happening. She is trauma bonding with Cloud, and she needs to resolve it. And I really hope that we will get a section where it is more about Tifa as the actual person than Tifa being the savior to Cloud, because I don't like that dynamic. It's not like he's been a very good person towards her. He's not a bad person. He also has his trauma, and you know, I've been very hard on Cloud. For you guys who have watched my playthrough, I've been very hard on Cloud because of the way he treats Tifa. But you know, I know he has his issues as well. But the thing is, when Tifa met Cloud, she is thinking about her past. She is thinking about Nibelheim, her village getting burnt down, her father dying, just a lot happening. And then we get to know in the novel A Trace of Two Paths that she has not had it easy at all. She hasn't even had the time to focus and resolve her trauma. She hasn't had any time to do that at all. So it is not difficult to see why she is trauma bonding with Cloud. But now with the remake and Rebirth, we can see that their characters, actually all of their characters, are just put in a different light. They are not two-dimensional, like I felt when playing the OG. I didn't really have a lot of feelings going on when it came to the characters. So they are much, much, much better in the remake and Rebirth. So I can't even wait for the third part to come out. What's it gonna be, like 3-4 years? The relationship between the characters is not something I would say is a good one. It is, to me, it is not healthy. Like the way that Cloud and Tifa interacts isn't healthy to me. It is a lot of trauma bonding between them, and it's especially coming from Tifa, since she's almost always the one to talk about the past, and that has been like a point for them. Like, this is the only thing that they talk about. They don't talk about the future. But as we can see with the remake and Rebirth, Cloud and Tifa have a lot of misunderstandings. Like, they have a lot of misunderstandings. In the remake, she questions Cloud a lot. Like, she questions him a lot about Aerith, and a lot about what he's been up to, stuff like that. And then they have their misunderstandings. And then coming to Rebirth, what happened in Calm, and now at the reactor, and now this scene. It is not going too well for them. And it's not weird. I mean, they're both battling their traumas. Not one of them have resolved it. And I feel like in Advent Children, Tifa has moved on. She has moved on, and she wants Cloud to move on, but he's not going to. And that's also what the novella, do you say novella or do you say novel? Tells us about this novella called A Way to a Smile. There, it's also very clear that Cloud will not move on. Like, even if when she asks him, like, did you like resolve your problem? He's like, well, kind of, but no. So he is not gonna move on from that because he lost someone who he really loved. So of course, he's not gonna move on from that. And that is fine, because we don't stop loving people just because they die. We don't. That's how life is. And the thing is, why they're having so many misunderstandings is because neither Tifa nor Cloud know each other. They don't know each other at all. And that is why they're having these moments where they kind of argue, fight. If we look back on Rebirth, we look back to Calm. There's probably more on the way, I don't know. We will see. And does it mean that the relationship is doomed? Not really. But I'm not a fan of trauma bonding. And it is very, very toxic. So for me, I don't like those kinds of relationships. Not in real life, never. And not in games, movies, series, whatever. I don't like it at all. But then again, we also have to realize how what's the word I'm searching for? I only have the Swedish word. How usual it is for people to trauma bond with other people. I mean, we hear this from friends, we ourselves can be in one, and then family. It is not something that is unusual at all. Like, it's almost more usual than unusual. I have several friends who have been through this, and it's usually the exact same. Like, you can tell them what to do, you can try to help them, but they trauma bond with that person so much that they only think about, they know that the person might not be good for them, but they have good memories of them, that they have good feelings, and those good feelings, those good moments are the ones that we usually have in our memory. So the bad ones are like not as visible as the good ones. But that it's so problematic, so problematic. And the thing is, I've been very open to Cloud ending up with either Tifa or Aerith. I was leaning more toward Tifa when I played first time I watched someone play the OG, and I watched Advent Children. Then I eventually played the games. So I was more leaning toward Tifa, but also I was a kid, so I didn't really understand the dynamics, and I didn't really understand what kind of different relationship people could have with different people. Like, for example, with Aerith, Cloud is so much better towards Aerith. Like, it is night and day. If someone would ask me, who would you want to be treated as? I would say Aerith. Because he is just way better with Aerith than he is with Tifa. And that could also be because she is the new girl. And Tifa is the one from his childhood that reminds him of the traumatic past. And one more thing. Just because you've had a childhood crush on someone does not mean that you will end up with that person. It is, I know that a lot of people romanticize the idea of a childhood friend, but is it realistic? Most times, no. But you can like the trope. You can like the trope, and you can think it's romantic. That is fine. But you cannot deny that Cloud has a very good chemistry with Aerith. He does have chemistry with Tifa as well, absolutely, but it is different. It is different. And I do like that the devs are making it more like ambiguous. Like, you can choose whoever you want, but then there is Cloud. Who does Cloud choose? Who do the players choose? That's optional, but who does Cloud choose? That is important. And the thing is, even in Advent Children and A Way to a Smile novel, we know from that Cloud and Tifa's relationship isn't good. Even when Aerith is gone, their relationship is not good at all. In the novel, she even asked him, like, do you love Marlene? And he's like, yes, I love Marlene. He doesn't say that, but he says, like, yes. But he doesn't know how to act towards her. And that's not so strange because Cloud has a very difficulty with showing emotions. And that's something we see throughout the games. And in Advent Children, he is very depressed. But the thing is, when she asks him if he loves her, he does not respond. It was easy for him to respond when it was Marlene, but when it comes to her, he does not respond. And a person who really loves you you will not have any questions surrounding that. You will not second guess them. So he doesn't say anything. That tells me a lot. And the thing is, you cannot persuade someone to love you. And that is also something when she asks him, did you resolve your problem? Which again, she did say to him, don't make it your problem. Make it our problem. And he's quiet again. He does not want to involve her. And also, you cannot persuade someone to love you. That is just how life is. You cannot persuade anyone to love you. And the thing is, it is also okay to lose feelings. That's also something I feel like people aren't thinking about, Aerith's feeling in this, or Tifa's feelings. It is okay to lose feelings. It is totally okay to lose feelings. Just like Aerith and Zack. Because Aerith clearly has lost feelings for him. She has said this. She said this in the OG, that it wasn't serious. And being a teenager and having a crush doesn't mean you have to have a crush on them your entire life. No way. She can still like him, but there is like, and then there is a like. And that is the same for Cloud and Tifa. Just because Cloud had a crush on her during his childhood does not mean that he has to have a crush on her now as well. It's just, that's how life works. And I was thinking about this other scene in A Way to a Smile, still from the novel, and there was this scene where Cloud tells Tifa that he got another job, but I'm sorry I didn't tell you about it. So she laughs at it, oh, she feels like she's being a mother to this big child. And then from her POV, she doesn't say this, but it is written that she didn't realize that her feelings had changed, that she's more motherly with him, and that she was happier with these kinds of feelings. And that made me happy for her. Going from having this crush on him to not getting reciprocated, is that the word? Unrequited love. She doesn't get anything back from him, and then she harbors these different feelings, and then suddenly she feels happy about it. Isn't that kind of magical? Anyway, this is a remake, so we have no idea what's gonna happen. No clue at all. I just hope that everyone gets their happy ending. And if it's not, I'm gonna cry. Oh my god, it is gonna be so difficult. But I just want them to be happy. I want Cloud to be happy. I want Aerith to be happy. I want Tifa to be happy. Everyone. But we'll see how it goes. And I mean, are they gonna end up with the same timeline as the one in Advent Children? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe we have different timelines that we can choose in the end. Don't know. That would be nice. Would be nice to have optional endings. Anyway, I did not mean for the video to be this freaking long. What is? Oh my god. Have I talked in freaking 20 minutes? Okay, I need to cut the video up because 20 minutes? Like the video is already 40. Oh my god. You guys, thanks for listening to me. Thanks for watching. I'll maybe see you in gameplay if you're gonna continue watching me after this. Thank you guys. Bye.